Welcome to the second episode of We're Hiring, a show where we discuss the challenges and wins of hiring in the trades. I'm Gina Camacho, the co founder of Blue Recruit. Blue Recruit is a direct hire marketplace that connects skilled workers with hiring companies. Today, we are focusing on the automotive industry and how companies can stand out among all the others that are fighting for the same talent. Joining us is Tony Mercury from Autoshop Solutions and Bill Snow of RadAir Complete Car Care. All right, so thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. So let's go ahead and just get right into it. I'd love, Tony, you kick us off. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about your company, how you got into the trade, and then Bill, you can go ahead and take it from there.
Hey, my name's Tony Mercury. I'm Vice President of Revenue here at Autoshop Solutions. We're a digital marketing agency niche to the automotive vertical. So we're really serving every type of shop from transmission repair, Euro repair, general repair, you name it, we do it, but only in automotive. And kind of a common theme that we're hearing not only from the sales side of things, but from the retention side of things is a lot of shop owners are raising their hands and saying, hey, I need help with technicians. So over the last 2, 3 years, we've had to get a little bit creative in how we can kind of pivot within our industry and help them find more technicians in their shops.
And I'm Bill Snow. I'm Vice President of Franchise Development and Operations for RadAir Complete Car Care. We have 10 franchise locations in Northern Ohio and we're growing. I've also been one of our franchise owners for the last 8 years. And one of the passions I have is attracting talent, developing talent within our stores and helping them with their career paths. So I'm really excited about today's discussion.
Awesome, me too. So let's go ahead and just talk about what's attractive about the automotive industry. Why should I get into it? What brought you into the industry? Whoever wants to take it, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go first.
Oh, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, no problem. So I have a really weird journey, I guess you could say, into automotive. So when I was in high school, I was a porter at a dealership and learned every aspect of the dealership, from sweeping the floors to doing warranty brake jobs to taking out the trash and driving states over to pick up cars. So that was really my first foray into the automotive industry. My friends and I would wrench and paint cars on the weekends in my parents' garage. And then when I went to college, I went at night and I ran a shop during the day. And that really got me excited about the industry. But after graduation, I went off and did the corporate thing. And then I wanted to connect my passions of helping people and being closer to cars. And it's been a great experience for me. And I think there's a good opportunity for young men and women that have that passion, that want to help people and have the satisfaction of getting things done, seeing technology change, always having to learn and adapt. Our industry is perfect for that. And unfortunately, the message hasn't gotten out that this is an awesome career with great career paths. Right now, we have an apprentice that we could talk about a little bit later. He's been with us. Matter of fact, he left, went to a corporate job and came back because the culture was better in the shop. Anyways, he's 20 years old and now we're training him on the phones and on the counter, so that not only is he learning how to wrench and how to fix cars and repair cars and diagnose cars, now he can handle the client side of it and interact and develop those skills. So now our internal bench is even deeper, that we can help advance people. So I just think, I guess to summarize that, the answer to your question, Gina, is the opportunities are endless within our industry.
Yeah, and I was very similar. Being a teenager, we would always wrench on our cars, and it was almost the Fast and the Furious days, but it was a little bit before that. So we were, working on our Hondas in our friend's garage and just trying to figure out what we can do and what our capabilities are. And very similar afterwards. I never went directly into the automotive industry. I actually ended up in sales at T-Mobile. So I did that for about 10 years. And then in 2015, I joined the company here at Autoshop Solutions. But to me, it was really, I love cars. I've had over like 25 cars. I drive my wife absolutely nuts. I'm always talking about the next car I want to buy. She doesn't want to hear it anymore. But then aligning that with small business, which is really fun to me. And I really like working directly with shop owners and seeing them grow their business, understanding their business and helping them move forward through our efforts. So it's just, for me, it's full cycle of kind of like what I've been preparing for and kind of what my hobbies and alignments have been.
So it sounds like passion is what drove you all into the career.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So for anyone listening out there where this is a passion, this is something you're doing at night, on the weekends, how would you recommend that they turn this into a career? Do they need to go to school? Can they join an apprentice program? What are some options out there for them?
I'll start from the shop level. Yeah, you have someone that really enjoys doing what we call them the weekend warriors. They're helping out friends and family. Um, the best thing they can do is if they want to go the school route, that's fine. But what happens is once the folks graduate from the school, the shops that they go into are going to show them how the shop wants it done. And there's nothing wrong with that, but they just have to be prepared for that. The alternative way to go is get partnered up with a shop now and start sitting down with what I call our industry interviews. So meet the local shop owners, meet the other technicians. And if you don't know those folks, walk into your AutoZone, your Advance, your Federated stores and say, hey, I want to meet some shop owners. Who can you connect me with? They'll be happy to do that for you. But anyways, during those industry interviews, ask the questions. What skills is that particular shop looking for? What advice do they have? And when we talk skills, we're not just talking the ability to diagnose or fix a car or remove a rusted bolt. We're talking about having a strong work ethic, being able to communicate, being a team player, showing up with a smile every day. Those are skills that are very much needed in our industry. But the best thing is to start to network, understand those shop owners who has the needs, and ask for the job. Maybe it's sweeping the floors for a couple of days a week, and then you get to start doing some oil changes. You develop a mentorship with one of the employees, get part of the apprentice program. Sky could be the limit.
Yeah, and I think, Bill, and we can chat about this a little bit more. So I will be turning 40 this year. And I was the generation where they said, go to college and get a degree because that's how you make a lot of money in life. And what they failed to tell my generation was there's a lot of money in trades. And I know Blue Recruit, you guys work with all trades, but a good technician is a six-figure job these days. And I think if that would have been presented earlier on when I was in school, I think a lot more of my peers would have been interested in learning a trade. Growing up, one of my best friends, their parents they own a plumbing company. So they were able to apprenticeship underneath their father. And now they run the business, but they're experiencing the same thing we're seeing in the automotive industry, that there's just a lack of talent. There's nobody to work because they really pushed us all to college. So it's just, I think that early intervention with high school kids and maybe even a little bit earlier, just saying like, hey, this is a viable career path for you. It's profitable. And, you can start out, Bill, just like you're saying, sweeping the floors. And then I think your story is a little bit similar, working on nights, running the business, and then you become an owner, then you become a franchise director. And it's just really the sky's the limit. And it's really those invaluable things too that you learn along the way, like showing up on time, being accountable. That's really relatable to any position. And it's like those building blocks as you advance in your career.
Mhm. Yeah, and we'll get into more of those kind of misnomers in the industry in a little bit, but I totally agree with you. I was pushed into college, but at the same time, my dad, while Blue Recruit's in 15 different industries, automotive is what I grew up with. My dad was a body shop owner. And so I always knew that that option was for me. My mom and dad actually met because she was an auto body painter, which I think back then she'll hate me for saying this, but around her time, it was very rare to see a female in the automotive industry, but that's how they met. And so I knew that was always an option. And you're right, Tony, for most of our generation, it wasn't. It was go to college. And I went to school for interior design. Never did it a day in my life once I graduated. But you're right, Bill. Even when you do go to school, you're still going to completely learn a different way of how to do that job once you get into the company. So I love the idea of getting in with a company early, learning from them. And I think that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about, I know right now it's hard to bring in talent to your company. So Bill, I'd love to hear from you. And then Tony, you next, but how do you make your company stand out and attract talent? What are some things you can do to really push your brand so people in your area know about you?
Yeah. So the first thing is retention. If you can't,
Absolutely.
if you don't have the programs in place to retain your current employees, it's going to be very difficult for you to attract the type of employee you're looking for. And so that all comes down to shop culture. And whether you like it or not, your shop has a culture. And if it's not the culture you want, you need to work to change it. So what a shop owner or manager should be doing is we celebrate birthdays. So we buy a cake, we sit the team down, we celebrate birthday, we joke around for a little bit. The guys love that. We also have a monthly shop meeting where we share the metrics, the KPIs each month. Gentlemen, here's where you are. Here's where we're working towards. Great job. Let's talk about some equipment upgrades, some maintenance, whatever it needs to be. We make the team feel like they're part of it. I could go on and on about some of the things you could do, but if you're not engaging with your team and making them the reason someone else would join the company, that's where you need to start first. And then once you've got that in place, you need to tell your story. And whether that's on LinkedIn, through TikTok videos, Facebook, Instagram, you got to tell the world. Your clients need to see that when they're bringing their vehicles in. They need to see the employees looking good in their uniform, looking, clean shaven, not dirty, with a smile on their face. And if they don't have a smile on your face, you got to address why they don't. So to me, that's the big thing that shop owners should be doing to attract and retain their employees. Then you need to network like crazy. The tool truck drivers need to know this is your culture and that maybe you have an opening. Your parts suppliers need to know this. Your neighbors where you live need to know this. Your business connections, your chamber connections, if you're in networking organizations. If you're not telling the story and communicating what your needs are, it's going to be very difficult to have that happen. And my best employees came through word of mouth referrals because that's what I did. And I'd be happy to walk any shop owner through that, hey, help me with this. I'd be happy to kind of lay out the plan and how you can do it. One last thing I'll say, and then Tony, I'd love to hear your perspectives, is I talk about building a bench. We have internal benches, and that's where we're developing our team so that they can take the next step. But we have external benches as well. So right now might not be the right time for us to hire this particular individual, or it might not be the right time for them. But we need to stay in contact with them, and we need to develop the relationship with them so that when they're ready, maybe we're ready, or vice versa. And we have a couple instances of that within the company where we had one gentleman on the bench for 3 years. Then we had a manager opening, we hired him. And would have loved to bring him on sooner, but it wasn't right for us and it wasn't right for him. So if you're not building your bench, that's one thing to consider too.
Yeah, that's definitely a big thing. Even here in my role is we want to make sure we're always recruiting. We're always having those conversations. We're always meeting people. One of our best sales reps I've ever had, I actually met him out. He had an SEO shirt on. And I just went up and introduced myself and said, "Hey, I work at an internet marketing agency. What do you do? I see your SEO shirt," right? So it's just putting yourself out there, and networking is huge. And the other thing that I see from the digital front is a lot of shop owners miss that opportunity to really celebrate and recognize people and really telling their story, just like Bill's saying. So, if you are celebrating birthdays, take that picture, put it on Facebook, and it starts giving your shop outward facing culture that your customers are seeing and other technicians are seeing. Because I guarantee someone's going to come home one day and they had a rough day at their current shop they're working at, and they're like, "Man, I need a new job," right? And if you're doing a good enough job online and saying, "Here's my story, here's my culture," they're going to start investigating themselves. And then what we've rolled out is we do a lot of careers pages for the shops we're working with now, and telling the story right on that web page. So what are your differentiators? Why would someone want to come work for you versus maybe the dealership or somebody else? So do you offer 401k? Do you have holiday pay? Do you have a 5-day work week and you don't work Saturdays or Sundays? So it's really, making sure you're telling people that, because if you're not vocal about it, nobody's going to know. And then to take it a step further, we do a lot of video content as well from employees of that shop telling their story. Like, "Hey, I used to work at a dealership. I was there," kind of like Bill was saying, like, "You learned it a specific way there. There's not great culture. And here's why I joined this team." So it's really that like social selling aspect of it to really show that shop owner, not that shop owner, but that technician that's looking for a new job, or maybe it's a service advisor that, "Hey, this might be somewhere where I want to work. Let me reach out." And then making sure you have the right job applications on there, making it easy for them to apply or reach out is going to be a very important part to that. And then, yeah, retention's huge. So be proactive on your coaching, be proactive on your one-on-one conversations, be proactive in these monthly garage meetings to make sure that everyone understands what is going on in the business and they feel valued. What I do here is I have kind of like a 10-step one-on-one document that I follow. And one of them is like, do they have friends in the building? Which is very important for retention, because if they feel siloed, they're probably going to go look for a job somewhere else. Do they feel like you care about them? You know, are you giving them a stipend to purchase tools? Are you recognizing and celebrating anniversaries and birthdays? So they got to feel like they belong in your business. So it's just that's huge. And just like Bill said, if you're losing people out the back door while you're bringing new people in, that's totally preventing you from being able to build culture because you have a revolving door in your business. The most successful shops I talk to are the ones that are all their technicians have been with them for years because they're treating them correctly. And again, a part of that interview process, you can say, hey, most of the people who work for me have been here for 5+ years, 10+ years. Bill, I wouldn't be surprised if you guys have employees at your business that have been there for 15, 20 years.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. I think there was a lot of really good stuff in there. I love, Bill, when you're having these meetings with your team about the KPIs and making them feel like there's one common goal. I don't hear that a lot from shops, so I love that that's a part of it. And the careers pages, Tony, I cannot tell you how many career pages I have seen that are terrible. There's no information. I know at Blue Recruit, we really encourage job seekers to do your research, prepare for an interview when you're about to meet with the company. And I'll go to some companies' websites and there's barely any information about the company. So, you know, it's also helping people determine is this a good fit for me? You know, what am I excited about with this company? It helps them prepare a little bit for that interview as well. So yeah, that web presence as well as your physical presence in the community is really important. And I'd love to talk a little bit about kind of the mistruths and fake news, for lack of a better term, that I've heard about the automotive industry. I know some of the big things that I've seen is very large signing bonuses, but there's no retention at the company. So those people are gone very quickly. That it's very expensive to get into the trade, that school's a requirement. And I know some of those things, there's definitely some truth to, but I love to hear what you all think in terms of, you know, really what is the truth about getting into this trade. I'd love to hear your thoughts on big signing bonuses, which is becoming a trend, and if those work.
From the shop perspective, you know, we've tried signing bonuses in the past and they didn't work for us. I know they work for some shop owners and some dealerships. It didn't seem to us to attract the right person for the right reasons. So we've gotten away from those. You know, we have offered things like flexible work days. But you need to get the kids on the bus. Okay, you can't start till 8:20. We can work with that. Or you need to bus. You know, you need to be out of here 3 days a week at 4:30 to. Okay, we can do that. What's interesting, we learned about it during COVID is a lot of our technicians' wives were in the healthcare industry, and that put a great strain on our employees because now they were responsible for the child care because the healthcare workers were so in demand, and we had to pivot and flex with that. You know, our normal onboarding includes 90 days of work before benefits, but we've bent the rule on that a little bit for the right candidate. Same with PTO time. You know, we're getting away from vacation and we're going PTO. So these 3 weeks, we don't care how you use them, but we want you to use them to, you know, recharge and take care of your family. And if you're sick or someone else is sick, then take those days. And we've also really started to take the interview process out longer too. So, you know, you used to come in, could you fog a mirror? Okay, we'll hire you as long as you have some tools as well. But now it's more of let's start with a phone screen. Let's get an in-person. And then let's maybe even have a third or fourth interview, including our team members. Can you work with this gentleman? Can you manage this gentleman or woman? That pulling the team into the decision-making has helped as well.
And then Gina, you had mentioned about the expense of initially joining and becoming a technician. So what I've seen I talk to shop owners every single day. So I'm asking these questions to get some feedback, just out of sometimes just curiosity of what they're doing to help alleviate. So they're trying to get rid of those roadblocks. So I've seen shops offer toolboxes with a $300 credit to Amazon or Advance or somebody to say, hey, I can help you get started with like this core set of tools you'll need. Sometimes they kind of have like a pre-built toolbox for them with here's like 90% of what you need minus some specialty tools, which you'll grow into. And Bill, I've actually heard it the other way where a lot of shop owners are shortening that process for interviewing and onboarding because what's happening is they've seen that 3-4 weeks is too long, and it gives them opportunities to go to other shops.
Yes,
So they
it
boiled
does.
it down to like a 3 to 5 day interview process. Like, I'm going to get you in. One of the shop owners I recently spoke to, he actually has a FAQ sheet, because if it's a male technician, a lot of the times when they get home, their partner's going to ask questions that maybe they forgot about, like healthcare, days off, right? Because they're thinking work, right, not home type stuff. So just like you're saying, like, what is PTO? Do I have flexible and I can get the kids on the bus? So they have that actually written out in FAQ and said, here, bring this home. So that way they can kind of eliminate that second interview or maybe a third interview, because there's all those questions are getting answered that night, essentially. And then I've seen a lot of shop owners do offer sign-on bonuses, but it's typically timed. So if you get your box in my shop within 24 hours or 72 hours, like, here's a stack of cash, essentially.
Mhm.
So they're getting, I've seen it both ways, them being very aggressive, and then kind of Bill's route, where it's just, sometimes just like you're saying, you're not getting the right candidate when that happens, but it's getting pretty aggressive for finding technicians and getting them on board.
Yeah, it is. And I'm seeing actually a slight decrease in the signing bonuses and definitely an increase in the flexible work week bill, which you mentioned. And I think that is potentially leading to more retention, especially for people in the industry that have families where they want to be home for their son or daughter's game. They maybe one of their kids is sick, so they have a weekly medical appointment that they need to meet, and so being able to accommodate that is really important in leading to loyalty. So if I am a shop owner and I am slammed because I'm having a hard time getting people into my shop to work for me, how can I accommodate a flexible work week? You mentioned you had to pivot. What did you guys do?
So we talked about, coming in later, leaving earlier. Hey, you need an hour and 10 minutes on your lunch to go take care of an errand. Okay. As long as we know about it and we can plan around it, that's all the better. Nobody likes the audible, like, hey, I forgot my kid has this thing today. We really can't deal with that. But as long as we have communication, and that goes back to something Tony said about, the 10-step program and having interaction and regular conversations with the employees. The more that we communicate with our employees and the more we understand what they're doing, the better we can help them and accommodate their schedule. During COVID, car count dropped a little bit. I think that was a little bit in March, a little bit in April, and then I think most shops were getting back online in May. We just shuffled things around. Some guys had to work a little bit extra to pick up the slack for somebody else, but that showed us the teamwork within the shop as well, that it wasn't, oh, he's not here because he's a single dad and he doesn't have a support system. They were like, we're going to get through this.
And I think that ties right back into shop culture, right? Where they're completely fine picking up that slack, because if you're doing the right retention things, you're building a team culture instead of like an individual culture. So just like you're saying, this person's out because their spouse is in healthcare, so I understand why he's not able to work, and then we're all going through this together. So it's that you'll see that common theme is going to be retention and just that team effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I love a little bit about what you said, Tony, with the tools, because I think that is definitely a barrier. And I think you're right, signing bonuses can work if applied in the right way, but if someone doesn't have tools, that's also a great alternative as well to get them into the trade. So I think that's a great idea. So I want to turn just a little bit and talk about technology, because we are seeing that. I was in Vegas at the Consumer Electronics Show a few weeks ago, and while a lot of that I think is pipe dreams in terms of all of these robotic cars and self-driving cars, I think we're still far away from that, but it's coming. And I think if anything, electronic vehicles for sure. And I think that technology really becoming a core part of the automotive industry is how we can get younger people into the trade, a little bit more interested about it. But I'd love to hear with you all what you are seeing with technology. How much is it evolving? Is it constantly changing? How are you staying on top of it? Or are you not seeing too much of it just yet?
Now, I want to start real quick. So I think we were talking about misnomers in the automotive industry, and I think if you pulled like a big group of people, it's a lot of just turning wrenches and like really like dirty, heavy work. But that's not necessarily the case at all anymore because there is so much technology involved. And especially like if you're looking at the German cars, there's so much technology on them where you're hooking up a scan tool, you're understanding the electronics of the vehicle, and you need that technology even just to service it. Like if you're doing brake work on some of these cars, or you need to recalibrate something. So there's a lot of fun technology involved in the automotive industry that I think a lot of people overlook sometimes because they just look at it as I'm removing rusty bolts, like Bill was saying earlier, but that's far from the truth at this point.
Yeah, and then so what we do is we rely a lot on training to get the folks excited about it. We started working on hybrids back in '05. Our CEO, Andy, actually went out and bought a Ford Escape, and those first came out in '05. And ever since then, we've had a particular slant towards hybrids, and a few of our technicians are certified to work on hybrids. One of our locations actually rebuilds hybrid batteries for clients that have that particular need. And that's a case-by-case basis. Some cars it doesn't make sense to do that on, some it does. But when some other technicians hear about that's the sort of thing we're doing, that's almost like a little bit of a talent magnet. But you guys aren't running away from this, you're adopting it. And if you go back over history, when cars moved from points to distributors and carburetors to fuel injection, there's always this, all right, we're being phased out, everything's going to go back to the dealer. And it's been just the opposite. Independent shops have had to learn and then start to work on these cars that have this different technology. So I mentioned a little bit about training. So we have monthly lunch and learns, which I know a lot of the parts stores will do that for a shop. They'll bring in the parts manufacturer and talk a little bit more about here's the technology that goes into this. If you look at ZF, TRW is their chassis brand, the amount of training that they're taking out to the field and how big people's eyeballs get when they're talking about the electrification of the car, particularly steering, and why this part works better than that, it's very eye-opening. And to be able to bring that to the technicians is really important. And the other thing we do is we encourage our technicians to go out and research things on their own and bring us their ideas. What do you see that you want to get training on? Is there a class that you want to go to? Is there a particular topic we need to research and bring the class to you for? Because if we make it about them and something that'll help them in their career, they're going to be a little bit more engaged and want to get it done too.
And I think that's a really important thing you brought up, Bill, is really seeing the shop owner's perspective and looking outside of their four walls and being involved with their local community or parts distributor and using them as a resource for training, because they're going to be bringing new stuff to the table all the time. And a lot of the times they're more than happy to come do these trainings for free to educate. So it's by doing that again, and it's going right back to culture, it's going right back to retention, and it's going right back to training. So it's just enriching everybody in your staff. And there's that one saying that, and I'm going to ruin it. If you don't train your people well enough, like you want to train them well enough so they stay. And then the other side is people say like, what if I don't? And it's like, well, then I have untrained staff. So you want to always train them where they're good enough where if they wanted to leave, they could, because they're so knowledge rich at this point. But it's the culture and those differentiators of your business that are keeping them there. And that they feel way more appreciated when you're putting that time and effort into them and helping them grow professionally.
Yeah. One thing that we do is we have a spreadsheet that the technicians and our service managers use to keep track of their training. And we really encourage them to get 40 hours of training a year. So whether they listen to a podcast, which is more on the service manager training, if they attend a webinar, if they do a lunch and learn, a lot of our part stores will do some after hours training, which I'm not the biggest fan of. They've been in a hot or cold shop for 9-10 hours, and then you're going to fill them with food and sit them in a hot room for 3 or 4 more hours. But at the end of the day, it is training, and some of the guys really enjoy that. But we ask them to keep track of that, and then when we talk about the monthly meetings, they then bring that spreadsheet with them, and we talk about it real quickly. Where are you at? Are you on track with your training goal? Are you not? And then someone that might not be can get some encouragement from another technician that is on track, and they can share ideas on where they're getting their training. And through our federated program, we have good access to the training academy, and which is some good online, or the training group, I think it's called, some great online classes that are some of the best we've seen.
Awesome. It's a great
And that's
recommendation, Bill. Go ahead,
that's really
Tony.
good for the newer technicians entering the workforce as well. Is grooming them, helping them understand, and putting that education into them. And I'm going to throw a question out there for you, Gina, and I'm curious what Bill's doing. So I feel there's a lot of shop owners that can be apprehensive to hiring younger technicians, like what would be more commonly referred to as like a C-Tech, or maybe starting them out in oil lube. So I guess, what are you guys doing over at RadAir? Are you taking that chance on that young high school, person that's interested in the automotive industry? Are you doing an apprenticeship program in your shops?
Yes, and that's one of the things we need to change about our industry is, it's not anymore where someone's just going to walk in with their toolbox behind them and say, I left Carl's down the street and I want to come into your place. So we call it growing your own, and we really encourage the stores, managers and owners to get involved with the local community. In one community, we go into the classroom when they're 8th graders, because that's when they go in 9th grade, they get a chance to tour the tech center. And then in 10th or 11th and 12th grade, of course, they are in the tech program. We're trying to expose them to the industry. We do have a formal apprentice program. What we do is, I'll give the example of Matt, who's a 20-year-old I talked about earlier. So he came to us from the tech school, and head and shoulders above anybody else in the tech school. And so when we brought him in, we set some very clear expectations. You're not going to be doing timing belt jobs your first day, but over the next 3 months, here's what we expect of you. And then we partnered him with our shop foreman to be his mentor. And we told Chris, our shop foreman, okay, your job is to get Matt through all these things by the end of the quarter. And we're going to sit down every other week, the 3 of us, and we're going to see where are we at with this. Are we on track, off track? Do we set the bar too high or too low? And then once we did that, we had a little certificate made, and we hung it up on the wall, because all of my guys' training certificates and ASEs are on the wall. So when a client comes in, they can see it. Plus, they see it every time that they're in the client reception area. It shows a little bit of pride for them as well. But then we treat our apprentices just like we treat our employees. If we're doing a training or an outing, that apprentice is there. I don't care if he or she is full-time or part-time. We treat them just like the rest of the team. So they're included in everything we do. And the pushback I sometimes get is, well, what if they leave? Okay, well then our brand, our reputation is attached to that person. And if we did everything right, we now have a better name in the community than we did before. I said, but what if they stay? What if we invested all this time and they become a star player? And that's really what we're building around with Matt. We have another gentleman, Andreas, that was the same way. Andreas actually came to us. He worked at McDonald's. His high school teacher told him in order to graduate, he had to shadow a business. So he walked into one of our locations and said, can I shadow here? I don't know anything about cars. We got him a scholarship to the ACET program, which is through AC Delco at a local community college. He graduated with a 2-year degree, went to school 8 weeks, worked for us 8 weeks, on and off, on and off. Going to be one of our star players. So if a shop owner's on the fence or doesn't think that investing time in today's youth is worth it, it will pay off, but you have to be committed.
Yeah, and I think if you don't do that as a business owner long-term, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because there's, through Tech Force Foundation, they came out with some numbers and findings. And I think in the automotive industry, between all trades in that vertical, I think it's by 2025 or 26, there's going to be 700,000 jobs available. And a lot of people are trying to find a career path in what they're trying to do. So we have to do everything we can to get people interested in this and let them know that it's a great career. It's, it's a good living. There's upward mobility. There's a career path. You won't just be a technician forever if you don't want to be. You can go to shop foreman. You can own your own business. I talked to so many shop owners that they started in the business turning wrenches and eventually they bought it, right? And then Bill, you're a very similar success story or career story that, you started out in the shop and running it, and now you are where you are now. So I think it's important to tell these stories to everybody as well.
Yeah. And the one thing Tony just made me think of is one thing I'd like to tell folks is train your replacement. And a lot of times I get,
Mm-hmm.
people are back on their heels. Like, what do you mean? If you want to become that shop foreman, and if you want to become that shop manager, and you want to become that shop owner, you got to build the team behind you to allow you to do that. So if you're a shop owner, it's thinking, man, I don't want to take a chance on a young kid. Well, ask your lead tech to take a chance on him, because that lead tech doesn't want to wrench maybe for the rest of his or her life. Let them put the effort into it. You have to control it. But if you have them, kind of training their replacements, you're going to build your team. You as a shop owner, now you can, go camping every weekend or go boating, do what you want to do. And you've got the team behind you that can run your place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of shop owners do overlook that succession planning as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do. That's awesome. And I think that's a great segue, because both of you are involved with programs about getting youth into the industry. So Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about the program you're involved in, and Tony, then you can go.
Yeah, so we're involved in a program called the RadAir Rising Stars Youth Racing Program. And the way this came about is we had a really strong relationship with a local oval track where they race cars on Saturday nights. And we sponsored a division for a couple of years. And I told the owners of the track that I really enjoy this, but I want to find a way to connect with the youth. And they said, well, we're starting this youth racing series. And the idea was, how do they get kids aged 12 to 16 behind the wheel of a race car? Very controlled, lots of training, lots of hand holding. They're just not throwing the kids out there on a track. And I said, that's perfect. I said, but we have to wrap something else around it. And what we wrapped around it was the ability of folks that didn't want to be behind the wheel, but wanted to explore career opportunities, especially around motorsports and automotive. So, think about the body shop person that can paint a car or fix a car. Think about someone that in our local high schools, we have, sometimes they're called success programs or business programs. And the idea is that they might not be going on to a 4-year school. Maybe they are after graduation. But these programs are designed to give them some experience in the business world or exposure to it. So we could partner up with them. So if you have someone that's in accounting or finance or marketing or even travel and tourism, we get them connected up with the program as well, so that they can network with some of the other business owners that are involved. We could do some career shadowing. We've gone into the track promoter and I have gone into the classroom and talked about how they can get better at networking, how they can get some hands-on experience, who they can talk to. The result has been awesome, and it just keeps growing. We actually hope to take this outside of Northern Ohio at some point, because we've got some businesses that are interested. Just because of being connected with the kids, there's no pressure, and we've seen some on-track success as well, where the drivers have gotten into it and immediately started to advance in the different divisions and moving away from the youth series into the regular racing series. So I'm happy to talk to anybody that might have a local track near them and they want to do something. Our payoff is, of course, we get a little bit of brand recognition about it. But, maybe there's a young man or woman that says, I really enjoy working on the cars. You guys seem good folks. Maybe we could talk about getting getting an internship or an apprenticeship going. And we did. We had a young man work for us for a summer that came as a result of that relationship. And it was good. He decided the industry wasn't for him. I talked to him a couple weeks ago. He was on a roof in Chicago installing solar panels. So he found where he wants to be in life. But it was neat that we were part of that journey.
I love that. And before you go, Tony, just this morning, complete coincidence, my 4-year-old son was like, Mom, I want to be a race car driver when I grow up. I was like, I don't even know how to support that, but Bill, if you want to come to North Carolina, we love racing here. So I think we can find you a track.
We do. And I think, thinking of what Bill said about involvement locally with the youth is huge. So what we've done here at Autoshop Solutions, we don't own shops, but we're very passionate about this industry. We're founded by a previous shop owner. So we've partnered with our local association. It used to be the Independent Garage Owners of North Carolina. Now it's ASTA. But what they did is they rolled out a North Carolina apprenticeship program. So they went to the education department, petitioned for it, got it approved, where they can work in shops, they can get college credits and advance their career and get a certificate at the end of it. So what we did is we've actually built out their website and all their branding and collateral and marketing material to help get people interested in high school in these programs, right? It's that visibility. It's just talking about it. It's advertising about it and showing really, again, I mentioned this before, this is something we all need to be doing. We all need to be, speaking about our industry and how lucrative it can be in the career path in it. And then we also work with Tech Force Foundation. So that's a co-op essentially with many parts distributors, again, from an education perspective, helping get that really eighth grader and on involved and interested in the automotive industry and having those conversations earlier and sooner and saying, hey, here's what it's like. Here's all the misnomers. Here's what actually happens. Here's the lifestyle in the shop. So we've built and donated that as well. So it's, even though, like I said, we don't own shops, we're doing everything we can from a marketing agency in the automotive industry to help get the visibility and the interest growing.
I love that. And it sounds like for both of you, eighth grade is where you can really start piquing
Right
the
before high
interest.
school, yeah.
Yeah, before college is that main focus for them. Give them another option.
Yeah, and one thing on that we've realized over the last several years, so these folks that might graduate from the high school tech program and then go on to a more formal tech program after graduation from high school, a lot of times they've already got somebody lined up to work for, whether it's an uncle or a neighbor or one of the dealerships or OEs have come in and sort of tagged a few of these students. So the point there is if your brand, if your name, if your shop isn't connected in the classroom or with these students or in the community, you may have already lost them. We reached out to, we have Ohio Technical College near us here in Cleveland, and they graduated 40 students, or they'll be graduating 40 students in March. Anyways, I reached out to all of them and just introduced the company, and if they wanted to sit down and have a chat, happy to do that. 5 of them got back to me and already said, I've got opportunities already lined up, and which is great for them. But also there's a benefit to doing that, even though they have one lined up. Our name's already in front of them. Maybe they save that email or text message and reach out to us if it's not what they thought. But yeah, if you're not out in front of them, you might never have a chance at getting them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's great. I mentioned my degree in interior design, which is slightly unrelated here, but we did have a few companies that spoke to us about their products. And I still remember when they came in, they showed us those products. They gave us a bunch of free products. Yeah. And if I look back, there's only one carpet tile company in my mind that if I were an interior designer that I would go to. But you're right, that really does stick in your mind. If you go to school, you're exposing those students that don't know too much yet, that they're going to remember you. So I love that. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. I think this was a great discussion. I think that's just really excited about all the different things that we can be doing to attracting talent. I think overall, it's just about getting in the community, making a name and a brand for your company, and really making your employees feel valuable is what's going to allow these businesses to continue growing. So again, appreciate your time all.
Yeah. Thank you, Gina.
Thanks for having us.